Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Thursday or session 4 of our series on back to basics, how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. Ooh, it's been a long week. Profile to engage prospects and customers. I am David JP Fisher, also known as D Fish. I will be your host today. As usual, I mean, this is my LinkedIn Live, right? But hope you're having a great day wherever you are. In fact, if you are joining us live, do me a favor, throw down in the comments where you're joining us from, what city, state, zip code, neighborhood, country you are in. Let me know who I'm talking to because it makes me feel a little less like I'm just speaking into the void. And so that helps a bit. And if you are watching this on recording, thanks for checking this out. We've had this whole series this week on the foundational parts of the LinkedIn profile. And really, more importantly, how you can construct a great LinkedIn profile, how you can craft that. Of course, if you haven't checked out the previous sessions this week, they are available on our YouTube channel. You can check those out. Just go to youtube.com/user/David JP Fisher. Not only do we have all of the ones from this week where we talked about the right images to use, how to construct a headline, yesterday's conversation about how to write an about section, which is such an important section of the profile. So you can watch all those. We've also got a slew, that's right, a slew of other playlists. In fact, this is, I think, session number 44 I've done during the quarantine. So we've got stuff on how to build empathy in sales, how to post on LinkedIn, how to network virtually, how to deal with uncertainty, how to run a small business, lots of great topics. I highly recommend you check those out. So let's dive in though. Let's talk about the LinkedIn profile. And today we're going to dive into a part of the profile that's really important, but is often misunderstood. And that is the experience section. Hey, Matt, good to have you from Colorado. Thanks for joining us. And so we're going to talk about the experience section. And so here's what I was realizing. I was putting together the script for today. I have worked with thousands of professionals on their LinkedIn profiles, many of them just one-on-one, helping them construct their profile. A lot of salespeople, a lot of executives. It's great. And I've done a lot of those from my home office right here, virtually with people across the globe. What that does mean though, so it's a lot of fun, but what it does mean is that if your wife is around and sometimes is walking by and overhears over and over the same things, she sometimes starts to make fun of you. And one of the things she often makes fun of me is this statement, the narrative of your career. And what she's specifically talking about is how when I'm addressing the experience section with a client, I talk about the narrative of their career. And that's how I want you to think of the experience section of your profile. Because I said a lot of people get this wrong. They view their profile as a resume. And so in fact, maybe we'll just cut and paste it from their resume. There's a bunch of bullet points. It's very dry, it's very boring, uses resume language like the dreaded results oriented, which I spoke about yesterday. Or especially like if you're in a sales role, it's got a lot of stats and numbers and figures about how cool you are. Those things are all relevant if you're trying to find a job. But for most of us, we're actually using our LinkedIn profile to attract potential clients, to have conversations with our prospects, to further the relationship we have with existing clients and customers. And so having a resume there isn't going to be beneficial. So what I'm going to suggest to you is that you want to look at your experience section as really having two roles. The first is simply to provide credibility for the rest of your profile. So for example, if in your about section, you're talking about your experience or your perspective or the knowledge you bring to your role or the insights you've gained over a long career working with clients, that's great. What the experience section is going to do is it's going to be where you back up that statement. You said, hey, I've been in this industry for 20 years. I want to see that in your profile. In the experience section. So that's the first thing. But as you'll notice, it's not very in depth. Like I just have to go, yeah, okay, he did it, or yeah, she did work in those kinds of roles, I get it. The second thing it really does is it describes the narrative of your career. And what I mean by that is it describes how you got to right here where you are currently in your career, and how that narrative, how that story helps you help me, right? So what is it about that narrative that makes you good at doing what you do and puts you in the position to be of service to me, the reader of your profile? Okay. So again, we're always thinking about our profile from a reader-centric point of view. And that reader could be a prospect, it could be an existing client, a partner, a referral partner. Again, go back to those 3 questions we've mentioned in each of these sessions, the 3 strategic questions. Who is my audience? I'm sorry, that's number 2. Number 1, what is my goal? Number 2, who is my most important audience? And 3, how do I want them to see me? All right. So when we look at the experience section, I want to disabuse you of the notion that this is your resume. And it's tough because LinkedIn started kind of as an online resume service, right? That you could just keep updating and anybody could go check out. And if you are looking for a new career right now, yeah, you can have a little more resume-ish profile section here in the experience section. But I still wouldn't, even if you're looking for a job, make it a completely resume clone. Do you know who likes reading resumes? Nobody. Nobody likes reading resumes. Don't do that. So what do you actually do? How do you actually construct this? Let's walk through this. So the first section we need to look at is the current experience section, right? Because that, of course, is going to be different than everything else, right? There's what you're currently doing now and everything you've done beforehand. Here's how I would construct the current experience section. This is going to be a little bit like a job description of what you do. Again, 2 or 3 sentences. If you had a chance to watch the previous session, we talked about even in your summary, you're just going to have a couple of sentences in a paragraph because that's pretty much all people can read. They scan. And so the first couple sentences are really going to be, this is what I do. Now, even more so than your summary, you want your current experience section to really be straightforward. This is what I do. So many people in their experience section try to be clever or flowery, or they have marketing language. Just tell me what your job is. I meet with my clients and have these conversations. I work with this type of professional doing this type of service. Let me know. Let me know exactly what you do. Don't make me interpret it. Okay. So that's the first short paragraph, 2 or 3 sentences. That's it. That's all. What you can then do is, if you want to put a short 2 or 3 sentence description of the company you work with and what that company does, you can. You don't have to, but you know, a lot of times people, if they don't work for a large firm, or maybe you are a small business owner and want to describe kind of what your company does beyond just you, great, you can do that. But don't have the entire section be about your company. This is another big mistake I see, is people just put in their current experience section, basically they cut and paste something from their company website. If I wanted information about your company, I'd go to your company website. So again, 2 to 3 sentences about what you do, 2 to 3 sentences about the company. That's it. Understand, most of the kind of selling or influencing copy, that language should be up in the summary. The other thing you can put into your current experience section is some multimedia. Could be a video, could be a PDF, could be a slideshow. Most of the important stuff should be up in your summary from the current experience section, right? Because you're currently doing it. But if there's something that you feel, is really more just kind of background information, maybe it's not the most influential thing, okay, go ahead and put that in the current experience section. But that's it. Now notice that there's no bullet points here. There's no hardcore sales language. There's simply an attribution. This is what I've done, but it's also in a digestible format. Now, if you said we're looking for a new job, then maybe you'll add some bullet points in just to make yourself look good. But this is something that I see a lot, especially in the sales side, where if you talk about your sales success, and I see this a lot with salespeople. Unfortunately, most of the ones who make this mistake are not the type of people who would actually invest in learning how to do their profile the right way. But there'll be people who go, hey, I hit, 114% of quota and then 112% of quota this quarter, and I've won this award and that award. And they talk about all the awards they've won, because what they want to do is establish credibility. They think that, hey, I'm going to let my customer or prospective customer know that they should work with me because obviously I'm so amazing. What it really does is make the person go, oh, all this person cares about is selling. All they care about is hitting some award. That's all I am to them. And it does not attract people. It drives them away. So be very aware of that. So that's the current experience section. If you have any questions on that, again, throw that down into the comment section or feel free to reach out to me afterwards. But it's very short. It's very simple. Boom, to the point. So then we have the rest, right? So we have the previous experience section. Show every other role that you've had. Again, this is not a resume. So what do we want to do here? We simply want to provide some credibility and share the narrative of our career, how we got to where we are. So just like the current experience section, just write a 2 or 3 sentence description of what you did, but more importantly, list a transferable skill or experience that you developed in that role that helps you do what you do today. So, I've seen this a lot with salespeople who maybe have come into the sales side from an engineering side, or maybe they were with their customer, one of the customers, and then went over into the sales role. In a previous experience section, you can say, hey, I did this role for X number of years, doing X, Y, and Z, period. It really gave me great insight into what this type of customer needs to help them be successful, right? So again, it's very simple, but it's talking more about what that role means to you now. And that's what your customers actually care about. Okay. So a couple of things too about the experience section. If you found yourself in one company in multiple roles in that company, I wouldn't do too many individual company listings. I'd actually put it under one company, put the final job title as the job title in the LinkedIn listing. At that point, then use the LinkedIn description to go through all the different roles. Hey, I started as a frontline salesperson, then went into a sales management role, then went into a sales director role, something like that. That's how I would do that. You don't want to overload people. Because again, we got to make this digestible. And it's kind of interesting when done right. I don't think the experience section is really going to be the main selling point. But if you do it wrong, it really detracts from your credibility. Does that make sense? A couple other things. If you have volunteer roles, those should really only go in the experience section if it was a really meaty role. There is a volunteer section in the profile that you can put some of your volunteer work, even if you were on a board or as I said, had a role for a number of years in leadership at an organization, usually better in the volunteer role. But if there's something that you spent a lot of time on, was really important, or is going to be very resonant with your reader, then put it up there. But here's the thing, you've got to make it easy for people to be able to understand that story. So if you have, and I've seen this a lot as well, 2 or 3 current roles. If I don't know you and I don't know what you do, I'm like, well, where do you spend your time and energy? I see all these, you've got your own consulting company, you work with this person and you're the president of that associate. Like, where do you really spend your time? You don't want somebody to have to interpret that. Right. So now I said, if it's in a big role, like if you were the president of the Chamber of Commerce in your area, that's a very meaty role. You're spending a lot of time in it. My guess is that will also impact your future relationship with people in that community. Okay, maybe you want to be front and center with that. every weekend I went to our local animal shelter and, helped take care of the puppies. That's great you did that. It should be in the volunteer section, but again, probably not something you're going to want to put into the main body of your experience section, because you have to make it very easy for somebody to see that arc, see where you were, where you are, how you got there, and how that impacts them. So very, very straightforward. I'd like to say it's simple. Sometimes it's hard to kind of winnow all that stuff away, because we want to like share, all of our perspective and things that we think are important, because, hey, it was our career. But really, don't tell people what you want to say. Tell people what they need to hear. So that's all I got today. So this is great. This is a little bit of a shorter section as far as what we had to cover and dive into. If you have any questions on any of this, please let me know. Feel free to reach out afterwards. And I always keep these banners up by mistake, so you could definitely go and see the previous sessions and previous playlists. But also, we do have our website, davidjpfisher.com/blog. You can also sign up for my weekly email list. I send out one email a week that has a bunch of tips, ideas, kind of things that will help you be more successful in your professional life, in sales, networking, marketing, professional development, all kinds of good stuff like that. I'd highly encourage you to check that out. And with that, have a fantastic day. We're going to be here tomorrow. And we're going to be talking about endorsements, about recommendations, skill listings. I'll also be able to answer any other questions that you have about some of the parts of the profile that we haven't spoken about. And we will have one more week. I'm going to go through the end of May with these series. I've got 2 or 3 ideas of what the sessions are going to be next week, but I haven't finalized it yet. So I can't let the cat out of the bag, but it's going to be a good way to end these lockdown LinkedIn Live sessions. That's a good title, the Lockdown LinkedIn Live Sessions. I like that. But everybody, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate it. Feel free to share these with your network and share that we're going to be doing not only one tomorrow at 11:30 Central, but we'll be back all next week at 11:30 Central. So I said, if you can share that, that really helps me out a ton. And as always, be patient, be kind, and take care of one another. And of course, stay safe. All right. Bye, everybody.